Welcome back to Bible Shorts, episode 62, The Empty Tomb. Last week, we learned that Pilate, the Roman governor, turned Jesus over to be crucified. Now, after Jesus died on the cross, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, though a secret one because of his fear of the Jewish authorities, asked Pilate, the Roman governor, to let him take away the body of Jesus. Pilate was surprised that Jesus was already dead, but gave him permission, and Joseph came and removed Jesus' body. Joseph and a man called Nicodemus took the body of Jesus and wrapped it in linen cloth, according to the burial custom of the Jews. Now there was a garden near the place where he was crucified, and in the garden there was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. And so, because it was a Jewish day of preparation, and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus inside and rolled the large stone to seal the tomb. They had to quickly bury Jesus before sunset. The women who had come with Jesus from Galilee had followed, and they saw the tomb and how his body was laid in the tomb, and they saw the rock, the stone, had been rolled in front. And on the next day, the Sabbath, when you're not supposed to do any work, they rested according to the commandment. Then, on the first day of the week, what we call Sunday, at early dawn, they went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away, but when they went inside, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground, but the men said, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to the hands of sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again." Then they remembered Jesus' words, and they ran to tell all this to the remaining disciples and to all the rest. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe the women. But Peter and John got up and ran to the tomb. Now, when Peter and John got there, they saw that the tomb was indeed empty. The stone was rolled away, and the linen burial cloths that Jesus' body had been wrapped in were all folded up inside the tomb. They saw no angels. They didn't see Jesus either. And they went home, perplexed at what had happened. Now, on that very same day, two of Jesus' followers were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And on the road, they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And Jesus said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" And Jesus asked them, "What things?" They replied, "Well, the things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified. But we had hoped he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the third day since these things took place. Moreover, some of the women in our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning. And when the women did not find his body, they came back and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. But we did not believe them. 2 of his disciples went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him. Then Jesus said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them the things about himself in all the scriptures, in the part of our Bible that we call the Old Testament. And as they came near the village of Emmaus, to which they were going, Jesus walked ahead as if he were going on, but they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it's almost evening and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. But when he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. But then he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, and while he was opening the scriptures to us?" And that very same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 disciples and their companions gathered together. And the disciples were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then Cleopas and his companion told everyone what had happened on the road, and how Jesus had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. Jesus has risen. He is risen indeed. Come back next week for episode 63. We're back in the Old Testament with the life of David. David is kind to Jonathan's son.